This broadcast of In Focus is being made possible through the support of Reed Health. Reed Health, right beside you. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.
At Reed Health, we are prepared to safely deliver all essential medical care. Delaying treatment for a serious condition, like a heart attack, stroke, or appendicitis, may lead to a different outcome.
Don't ignore symptoms: chest pain, rapid breathing, stroke symptoms, severe abdominal pain, worst headache of your life, confusion or non-acting rate. We are here for you 24/7.
Reed Health has taken many steps to protect you. This is to ensure your safety, so Reed can continue providing care when you need it. Reed Health, right beside you.
I mean, we couldn't do what we do without First Bank and how supportive they have been throughout the years.
I've had a very good experience working with First Bank. They have been there really with all kinds of different things that I do in my life.
We consider First Bank Richmond a good friend. They're there to help us sponsor our signature events. You always are out there to help each other out.
Besides the business part of it, we just get along really well. And it's beyond a working relationship.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me on this episode of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television. Glad you're able to join me for this conversation that I hope will be interesting and should at times be fun, considering the guests that I have. And I appreciate them being willing to join me. Before we bring in our guests, I do need to remind you that, I don't know whether you've heard, but there's an election coming up. You should be registered to vote. We're not talking Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever. You should be registered to vote, period. And you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So if you just pick up your tablet, your computer, your phone, whatever device you have connected to however fast or slow an internet connection you have, you can go to indianavoters.com. You can check your registration status. If you think you're registered, but maybe you've moved, you might want to make sure of that. You can also find out where your voting places will be. And if you are not registered to vote, you can get registered to vote right there from the comfort of your living room as you're watching the Cubs beat their next victim or whatever it is you're watching. So indianavoters.com, go to that site, get registered to vote, and please be ready to do your civic duty by mail, in person, however it comes up this November. Thank you. Now I want to bring in my guests because I want to give them as much time to talk to me as I can possibly give them so we can get through a lot of things. And I appreciate them greatly being willing to join me. We have Jane Bumbalough, who is Richmond Common Council at large, Jeff Cappa, who is Richmond Common Council District 4, Bill Engle, who is Richmond Common Council District 3, and I'm not sure whether he knows it or not, I actually live in the district that Bill represents. So I'm really glad he didn't turn me down.
Did not know that.
There you go. See, you got some work to do, buddy. Seriously, thank you all very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it.
Sure, glad to be here.
I asked you all to join me because you all are the 3 freshman members of the council. This time last year, you all were really running for these seats. You were trying to figure out who your opponents were going to be, what questions people like me were going to ask you during the candidate forums, all except my brother Jeff, who, you know, if I ever run for an office, I want to be him, the guy nobody wants to run against.
I don't think so.
But let's go back, because honestly, because of a lot of things that have happened, I really haven't had a chance to talk to you all much since the election. So let's start with you all were introducing yourselves or reintroducing yourselves to friends, neighbors, people who didn't know you. You were running around knocking on doors. Remind us what you told people when they asked you the question, and I assume that they asked you, why are you running? What was your answer to that question? And just kind of jump in, whoever. Let's, Bill, start with you.
I was afraid of that. I think I told people at the time that, I've lived here a long time. I've worked here a long time. I've raised a family, and I consider this my home. I wanted to continue to be involved in my my community, and I thought a good way to do it was to serve on city council, especially since I had 14 or 15 years of covering council. I understood a lot of the issues, and I really thought that would be a good opportunity to stay involved and to have my voice heard.
Okay.
Jane, you want to go for next?
That may have frozen up. Jeff, why don't you go? I think Jane may be trying to reconnect with us.
Oh, okay. Well, similar to what Bill, I don't want to repeat everything that Bill said also, but I've grown up in this community. I went to school here, graduated from here, raised my family here. Serving 38 years in county government was totally a little different, I found, from where I'm at now, but also was approached by some people wanting to know if I'd be interested in running for the seat to still stay involved. And after talking with my wife, I decided that I still wanted to be involved and I still wanted to do what I could for my community. So I decided to put my hat in the ring.
Okay. Jane, I'm not sure if you heard the question. I know we lost you for a hot second.
Yeah, you did. My great
Remind us.
service.
That's okay. Remind us what you, listen, a lot of people are running into that because you're not.
Yeah.
Somebody just turned on Netflix and you lost your internet.
There you go.
Remind people what you were telling them a year from now when they asked you why you were running for common council.
Well, mine is a story, but I'll make it short. My husband and I had moved my parents in with us for me to care for them for 4 years until they both passed away. And I had really been praying about doing something different. I needed to be challenged. I needed to be brought out of my comfort zone and just really wanting to do something different. And I just knew that something was coming, that was going to be challenging to me. And 2 days later, I was contacted and asked if I would consider running for public office. And it's not anything, honestly, that I'd ever dreamed or thought of. But the more I got involved, the more people that I met, the more encouragement that I got. Since I've gotten in public office, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I've realized that there are a lot of things that I can do that I didn't know that I could do. I've been enjoying, really, my favorite thing to do is talk to community members when they just have a problem or need to talk. So it's caregiving in a different way. And I really like it. I really like it, and I'm thankful. So I've shared the story many, many times, and I've had a real positive feedback from it.
Follow up on that, all three of you. And Jane, we'll start with you. What are some of the things that you have learned during this first 8 months or so that, as you said, you can do that you didn't realize you could do? Stepping into that role provides you with an opportunity to do what?
Oh, golly. Well, like I said before, just getting connected with people that I've never met before. I've really enjoyed getting to know people from different political parties. And just it's one of the things that I'm growing in is listening, just growing, especially since COVID has happened, just taking that time to slow down, pull back, and really listen. The paperwork that I get, at first I was a little bit overwhelmed, but then as I start reading, as I get to know, it's like politics are a different language So it's like you're getting to learn a whole different language, a whole different culture. But I'm finding that it's challenging in a very good way. Somebody will come up to me randomly and ask me questions about what we're doing for different ordinance and everything. And I'm finding that I'm having this conversation and I didn't even realize I remembered some of that stuff that I've been learning. So I have a love for learning and learning new things about people. So I don't know. I just am enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the challenges. I'm enjoying learning the new things. I'm excited about learning about the budget more. And we have the budget hearing next week. So getting involved in that, learning that. I don't know if there's another question you have or something, but
You're
that's
okay. Jeff, but
okay.
You saw county government up close work, as you mentioned, for a number of years. Talk about what you've learned on the city side that you can do as a council person for the people of, we'll say your district, but for the residents of Richmond.
Well, I think that one of the things I enjoy about being on council is I continue to use a skill set that I had when I was in law enforcement. You know, you're going and helping people with different situations that they're wanting help with. One of the things I also enjoy, especially being here on the east side of town, is talking with a combination of people that are having issues with ordinances or in their local neighborhood, or I could be talking to a business owner that's out on US 40 East and has a large business. So I enjoy both of those opportunities to be able to do that. The other opportunity that I enjoy is that being on council, I have an opportunity to work bipartisan with the rest of the council members that we have there. Bill sits right next to me in the council meetings, and Bill and I've known each other for many, many years.
Long time.
And, you know, we discuss quite a few things. And I think it's great to have that on our council right now, especially everything that we're going through and with the COVID and everything else we're dealing with. I can honestly say that working with this council has been a pleasure so far. Everyone's been great to work with. Even the citizens that have contacted me that I've tried to help or we weren't able to get maybe exactly everything they wanted have been very gracious and been great to work with.
Bill, what about you? You covered government for a number of years as a reporter for the Palladium Item, but you saw it from one side. Now that you're in it, what have you learned new that you can do as a council person for the people in your district, for the residents at large?
Well, you know, as a reporter, you always consider yourself to be anonymous, that you're just that fly on the wall listening to the meeting and then reporting on it. And that's changed now. People have contacted me. A couple of people have stopped me on the street when I was walking to tell me about issues they've had in their neighborhood. And that's fine. It's fine with me. I want to be that person. So, and it's one of the things that I've been working on now is responding to citizens' complaints and concerns. And fortunately, the other thing that I've found is now the administration responds to me a little more than they used to as a reporter, which you can probably relate to. But it's and I need that. You know, I'm the new guy, and I'm trying to learn, and this is a horrible time to be trying to poke your head into, you know, the controller's office or planning and et cetera, et cetera. So I need as much help as I can get. And I have to admit, the administration, people like Emily Palmer, Derek Hill, you know, they've been great about responding to me and my questions and concerns. So I just want that to go forward. I need to learn at this point, you know.
Yeah.
Particularly for Bill and Jeff, as you all drive, walk, bike, whatever it is you do to get around Richmond, you two I introduced as representing District 3 and District 4. As you walk around and interact with people and look at the city now, do you see it differently? And do you see it as, oh, that I'm in so-and-so's district, I'm in so-and-so's district, I saw this, maybe I need to reach out to Jeff, or Jeff, you're over in District 3, and I saw this, I need to reach out to Bill. Do you see the city in the districts that you represent?
I can take that. I don't see it that way. You know, I walk around parts of the community, and I really don't think, well, you know, now I'm in Kelly's district, or now I'm in Jeff's, and so I'm not going to pay attention to issues that I see. I really don't. I enjoy walking the neighborhoods. That's just, you know, when we went through this whole thing with COVID, you know, there was no gyms open or anything like that, and the malls weren't open or anything. So spent a lot of time doing that, and it just kind of reconnecting with the community. But I never think of that way, that it's, you know, I'm in somebody else's territory. If I see an issue and it's enough of a concern, I would probably contact the city and report it. But I have to admit, I've also seen, you know, some beautiful, beautiful properties, and I always want to go up and pound on the door and say, you know, I really like your place. I like your, you know, your whole your house or whatever. But I'm not probably going to do that. So
Stalker council person, that's not a good look.
No.
Jeff, what about you? You've seen it from one side. You've driven it around in a police car. Now you're still kind of driving it around in a police car a little bit, aren't you? But do you look at it differently now that you're a political leader in the city?
I would have to say yes, but I also agree with Bill. If I see something, I don't have a problem picking up the phone and contacting the city building or the administration about it. But also trying to be respectful, I will contact the councilman that might be in their district, and we discuss it. I know Bill and I have done that already.
Yeah,
I've done that with Kelly Cruz, where a citizen stopped me about a situation, and I contacted Kelly, but I also tried to help out, and we worked together on what we were doing. And that's what's important. And that way we're getting something done for the citizen. I have to be honest with you, in the prior elected office that I had, I thought I got stopped by a lot of citizens when I was out. Mm-hmm. I get stopped more now as a councilman than I did when I was sheriff. And I can tell you that's
really?
The truth.
Wow. I would not have guessed that. Jane, what about you? As you're driving around, the city is your oyster, as it were. You know, you've got the whole thing. You're at large. Do you look at it differently from, I'm just a resident, to, okay, now I'm one of the political leaders?
I look at it as when I'm driving around, I look at the city. I don't know if I feel a whole lot different because I've always been a caregiver, but it's a caregiving in a different way. And so when I'm out, I do look out for the person next to me, no matter where I'm at, whether I'm at the stores or whether I'm bike riding or walking or, you know, interacting with the community. If I do see a problem in the community, I always try to go to the person who is in charge of the situation, because I think it's very important to never, ever, whether it be innocently or whatever, you don't want to ever undermine anybody. You always want to make sure that you go to the person who is in charge and bring it to them. Or one of the things that I love is that when somebody comes to me with a problem, I really like to be knowledgeable of the contacts so I can give them the information and send them to that person. That way they can talk to them directly. They're not coming, getting things secondhand, or I'm not giving things secondhand. But I really try to go directly to the person, directly to the source. Or if I know of somebody who might have information, I let them know I'm happy to try to find this out for you, and I'll get right back with you. And I try to get back with them right away with the information that they need. And sometimes what I really appreciate is if somebody calls me, and sometimes I've had people that they start off at talking about one situation they're upset with, but sometimes they just need to talk. And I really enjoy that. And just listening to them, it might even be about a problem, with a neighbor, or just something random they need to talk about. But it's just, I really genuinely enjoy that. I enjoy engaging and with whoever I'm with, wherever I'm at. And and like I said, if I do see a problem that needs addressed, I don't have any problem at all addressing the problem or seeking to find the answers and directing people in the right direction.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're spending some time with first year council people, Jane Bumbalough, Jeff Cappa, and Bill Engle. Thanks you all for being here. You've all mentioned COVID in this, and I didn't want to start there, but obviously that is the conversation taking place right now. You all were running for these offices a year ago before COVID-19 was a thing. First question, now that it is, if it were a year ago and it was there, would you all still have run?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
What have you all's roles been in keeping residents up to date with information or answering questions, encouraging people to reach out to the health department? What have your roles been as city leaders? Because that's where you are right now during this pandemic. And is the role that you all have played the role you all think you should be playing? Knowing that there is a city administration that has been a little bit more out front. Ken Paust for the commissioners on the county side a little bit more, Mayor Dave Snow on the city side a little bit more. But as council people, as leaders, what has your role been, and is it what you think it should be?
I think it is, most definitely. I think we've had some great communication between the three entities that you spoke about, and also county council as well, with some of the purchases that have had to be made to provide mask and education, some of the other things we've had to do for the community and the county as a whole. I think they've done an excellent job for that. The other concern that I feel we have as council is we control the budget. We control the purse strings for the city. Mm-hmm. And no one saw this coming to this degree anyway.
Yeah.
And, we're looking at a shortage in the property taxes that'll be coming up. We're looking at the innkeeper tax that's going to be down. We're also looking at the gas tax that's going to be down. All that's going to have an effect on the bottom line. It's not just for the city. It's going to be statewide, nationwide. And I think that all of us have been listening to the experts. We've been doing what we feel is right to protect the citizens, but also protect their rights and make sure that we're listening to them as well. But overall, I think we've done a pretty good job.
Bill, Jane?
I'll go.
Okay.
I agree with Jeff. Communication has been an important part of our role, I guess. Although I have to admit, I'm not an expert. I'm not in the health department. I'm not the mayor or the president and commissioners. So I've let them do their thing, which I think allows for a pretty clear message to the community, and it's fine with me. And if I have more of a role to play, I guess I'm not sure what it is at this point. But I have actually communicated to some of the citizens who've contacted me about issues about schools and about when can I go back to El Rodeo, or I want to go to the movies, and all I can do is encourage them to listen to our leaders and follow the leads that we've seen that have, and I think the mayor and Ken Paust and the health department and the doctors have done a terrific job, and I've been pleased with that. I have to tell you, Eric, I came into this position for a month, and then we went to Zoom meetings, and our role kind of diminished. So it's been difficult because I always think you learn by doing. And sitting in council meetings is important because I do listen, as Jane said, and I do respect the people that I serve with, and I know I will learn from them. I'm just kind of anxious to get back to that learning curve and proceed from there. So,
yeah.
Jane, anything you want to add?
Yeah, and my internet might cut out again. It's starting to get a little shaky, so I hope I stay in there. When all of this took place, just like anybody else, you're kind of like, what is happening? Because just different thoughts, different, everything's just so different. But everybody plays their different role. Everybody plays their part. That's why we have so many different people on council to make up the body, and one part needs the other. And my role that I've been called into is I have a real heart for the young families that have been affected. I know that a lot of the work that I do has to do with the elderly. I would go to nursing homes and go to assisted care living and work on people's feet for them. I bathe them and massage their feet and do their nails for them. And that's a calling that I have. And so that part's been difficult for me because there's so much wisdom from the elderly. There's so much wisdom to be gleaned from them. And this is hard for me to talk about, that I have missed that. And it's been very hard. So I do have some people who things have, changed for them, and I'm able to go in their homes now. So I do more home visits, which is wonderful. So I get to have that interaction. I was able to sit down and talk to one of my clients today, and we had just a wonderful conversation for a good half hour or more, and it's so refreshing. And then when it comes to the young families, at first when this happened, I have to honestly say, and I'm going to confess this to everybody, I was thinking, oh, thank you, God, all my kids are raised, and it was like, phew. Well, my kids had stayed home, having their kids at home, so I wasn't able to see them. Everybody's pulled away from each other. So I was just, I'm like, well, I'm home. I'll get some things done while I'm waiting this out. I'm learning some more of the ropes of getting online. I've been trying to publish things from Chamber of Commerce, things from the city, reshare them, because some people might be looking at my page that might not necessarily be connected to different pages. So I've been really seeking to share a lot of that, and really seeking to encourage people as I interact with them. Some businesses, they could continue to thrive during this. Even though it's been very difficult, but just watching so many people struggle, and we're all limited with means, we're all limited on what we can do, and it's just partaking of that with them and encouraging them and see where it is that you can help. And then later, as I'm able to go visit my children and my grandchildren, I started to see firsthand the real struggles that families have had, because, some of the parents, both parents are outside working, and then trying to find how are they going to care for their kids, why they're doing the Zoom school, why they're, and I'm seeing it firsthand with my children. And, I homeschooled for 16 years, but it was by choice. It wasn't something that was placed on me to do. So I had the preparation, I had, the research and everything else. And so this is totally different. So I've been able to enter that world now with the younger families and seeing their struggles. So I have a deep, the burden and the empathy for them. So one of the ways that I've sought to help and encourage is, the children have to have masks to go to school. So I've been making a lot of masks for community members, for children, for elderly, for businesses, for, and just finding ways, because I love to sew. That's an area that I can use that talent and use it to help other people. So that's, mine is, I'm relational, very relational. And so this is just, it's just been difficult when I see people, and I feel their burden. But by the same token, on the flip side of it, I've had numerous moms talk to me and say how thankful they are that they were just pulled out of the route race and made to slow down. And I'm in agreement with them. We've connected with our husbands in a stronger way. We've connected with our children more. It really makes you sit back and reflect because, who's that next person that could get sick? Could it be me? Could it be one of my children? You start really thinking about what are the things that are really important in life. And, that's just so important. And I've loved to see the county and the city leadership really seek to work together and, bounce their ideas off of each other, find common ground, getting in there and working together. That is so important. That's important for all of us to do that wherever we're at. Look out what's best for each other. I mean, the thing's not a political thing, not a opinion thing, but in genuine, the human need in seeking to help one another. So that's, it's been challenging. It can be very disheartening, but by the same token, there's always good in everything that's hard if we seek it. There's always that, the growth that you can come away from it, the inspiration that you've gleaned from other people, seeing the good things that are happening, because they're always there if we're willing to look for it. Even people that have been sick, the doctors that have tended to them, the nurses, the stories about the nurses and the kind-heartedness. I think of Jeff and his role in the hospital, and you're on the front lines too, Jeff, being in there in that environment, and you're seeing firsthand things that people go through. I have so much respect for that. And, you guys are taking care of our people, and I really respect that. So
before we leave this, is there more? And this is truly just a question. And Jane talked a lot about the families, particularly the young families. COVID has really made business difficult to do. And there has been a lot of conversation, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't have been. There's been a lot of conversation about keeping businesses afloat. In your determination, has there been enough conversation about how government helps support families? Individual families in this who are struggling, whether it's because they're having to stay home and take care of kids, they're going to lose their jobs. We know there are jobs that are not going to come back. Even if restaurants are open, they're only at 50, 75% capacity. They don't need the staffs that they had previously.
Right.
And I'm not saying government needs to move into the family, but has government, particularly local government, done enough for families here outside of just trying to keep their jobs in place?
Well, I think that how much is enough? Maybe that's a way of putting it. But, the state of Indiana's, the Okra money and some of the other things that we've been applying for and the city's been applying for and the county's been applying for by getting grants to help out on some of these issues. Center City Development Board also, which is working very hard to get grants and do some things for businesses in the downtown area and some of the surrounding areas. I think everyone has the same thought process. I think everyone is trying to do the right thing. It's just, it's new to everyone right now.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's trying to work their way through it.
Yeah.
I think we will all be better for it.
Yeah.
We just don't know when it's going to end.
Right.
So my way of thinking is we have to take this a day at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time. I am in full agreement that we want to take care of our community.
Oh, yeah.
And that we have to do things, but we also have to be able to make sure that our total infrastructure, as far as our emergency responders, our hospitals, everything that we need to keep operating.
Yes.
When someone dials 911, they're expecting a fire truck, an ambulance, a police car, someone to show up.
Yeah.
And with the COVID the way it is right now, we're seeing an ever increasing amount of calls, unfortunately, because people are either staying in or they're not staying in and doing the things they probably should be doing.
Right.
But I think we're all attempting to do the right thing.
Bill?
And I agree. This pandemic has isolated us, and that's the right thing for us to do. So it's been difficult in that, I feel like I'm doing the right thing, staying home, spending time with my wife, doing the what I have to do here, and not being out at community festivals and other events in the community, which I would love to be doing, but I just don't think that's the right thing to do. I think the community has done a good job, and I'm talking about the Wayne County community, in trying to get money for small businesses, for actually doing the role that they are assigned to do, which is to bring money in for police and fire and first responders and small businesses and things like that. So if there is more of a role, and then of course the federal government is going to assist people that are out of work, not by their own choice. But so our role is not, we're not writing people $600 checks every month, right, or anything like that, and that's not going to be our role. I hope it doesn't sound like a cop-out, but I think staying home was the right thing to do for 4 months. So I'm hoping we can move beyond this. That's my hope and my dream. You're
watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're speaking with Bill Engle, Jeff Cappa, Jane Bumbalough from Richmond Common Council. One of the things that COVID has changed is this show used to be live in the studio on Thursday evenings. We're actually recording this a week before it will air. So at the time this airs, you will either be in night 3 of your budget conversations, or they will have finished up the previous night. Last year, I think all 3 of you all were sitting in the room, but you were kind of spectators as the council went through with each department head what their budgets looked like. This year, you're going to be up front. You're going to be helping make those decisions. Talk a little bit about, and you, Jeff, you talked a little bit about it before, what COVID has changed, what residents need to know as they are hearing these conversations, and as council people, where are your priorities with the budget, knowing that, again, as Jeff mentioned, there are going to be shortfalls from the anticipated money that the city would have gotten this year. And you can rub your crystal ball all you want, but you really don't know what 2021 is going to bring. But you all are responsible for creating a budget that allows this city to work. Talk about where your priorities are as you look at those dollars that are definitely shrinking.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head when you said priorities. We, as a collective group, are going to have to sit down and listen to each one of the department heads who hopefully have listed out already what their priorities are going to be. But I also understand that the department heads have been told that we're going to be looking at a shortfall, and that we're going to be looking at wants and needs and those type of things, and we're going to have to basically do what you would do on your home budget. You're going to have to be able to operate within the operating budget that you have.
Yeah,
that's not going to be easy, and we're going to have some very strong conversations with everyone. Make sure we are providing the services that we are used to receiving, but also we're going to have to be very cautious on how we're going to proceed with that until the DGLF lets us know exactly what we're looking at, which is probably not going to be till after we've had the budget hearings. We're not going to be able to finalize that budget. And there could be more cuts coming after that. I don't want to paint, doom and gloom situation here. I'm just wanting to be honest.
Yeah.
And we're not the only community in the state of Indiana that's going to be facing this. So we have a very important job ahead of us. And I think we're all open to listening to what the department heads have to say, and also working with them to make sure that we get what we need to get done.
Okay.
I absolutely agree. I mean, it's got to be priorities, and they are more important now than ever. I think we will be looking at a shortfall, certainly motor vehicle tax fund with the gasoline tax and some other funds. So if you're asking my priorities, obviously, police and fire and parks, sanitation, but then how can you ignore the street department? I see they're doing work right up the street, milling and paving on, I think, 19th and maybe 18th and 19th. And that has to go on. I mean,
Yeah.
Yourself, if you drive around or you walk the alleys, you see some of the condition of some of the streets. And I always wonder, I'm getting off the point, but I live on East Main and the trucks rumble by here all the time now. And I know it's the construction on I-70. I just wonder what that's doing to our city streets. So it's, again, priorities are so important, and they will be important. I think we'll probably need to look at some projects that, we were hoping to do in 21. Maybe we do them in 22 or 23. But again, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of listening to department heads and working with them and with other council people.
Yeah.
Okay. Priorities for you for the budget as you look at it, think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't top what these two have already shared. The basic principles, the basic priorities, the infrastructure, the police and fire, the streets, the sanitation. I mean, you think about it, sanitation department is very important, especially during everything that's going on. That can be a danger in and of itself if things aren't picked up, cleaned up, that's important. Police department are important. The fire department, these are for the priorities for the city. It's just like, I mean, if you look at it as an army and you have the commanding officer and then you have different levels and they're all plowing ahead, you have to have that basic infrastructure in place. It needs to be there. It needs to be solid and moving forward. We as a community, we're responsible for caring for our families, and we're responsible for caring for those around us. I mean, there's a mentality, not everybody, but there's some with the mentality that the government needs to take care of me. But really, we need to take care of each other. There's basic things that you don't wait for the government to do. You see someone in need and you have something to help them in need, you help them. If you're taking a walk and if you're able to pick something up, unless it's too heavy, like a couch, if you could throw something away. But there's going to be priorities in the budget. There's going to be, some things to be cut out. My husband, at his employment, some of his hours were cut. But what we have found is that there's things that we have to take out of the budget. There's things that we have to put aside. And it's just amazing how provision has been made time and time again to make up for it. It just comes. And I think that, both of these men have had a lot more experience than me and a lot more knowledge. So I am really looking forward to being involved in this, learning, hearing the dialogue, watching what's going on, because I'm a visual learner, and I'm really looking forward to that process. But I fully agree with what they've already shared, and there have to be some painful cuts for some people, and it could be stuff that really we can do without. And maybe sometime in the future when things, change, because they will, we don't know how long, but there's, the culture throughout the ages, there's famine, there's hardships, there's disasters, there's bombings, there's explosions downtown, there's something. And this is a time for us to grow and be that generation where we can be strong for our children and for our neighbors, and really be wise with the money, be wise and move forward. And I'd like to see that.
Eric, one thing I would like to add also is that, the budget will play out in the coming weeks, but the backdrop is that there will be about $3.6 or $3.7 million in property tax that will not be collected because of the circuit breaker.
Yeah.
So again, you know, we're going to be juggling some things, and, and there needs to be some real serious conversations about this.
Yeah.
I think people need to be patient. I think they need to understand that no one saw this other thing coming with the COVID, and that we are willing to step up and make those decisions, but they need to be understanding if it's something that they don't agree with. But we have to do what's best for the community as a whole.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that our first responders are out there on duty and doing what they need to be doing, and that we have the street department, sanitation, everything else running for the city.
Yeah, I fully agree.
How do you all balance that? And I understand exactly what you're saying, not saying I agree or disagree. I just kind of sit here and get to ask questions. How do you all balance that with the understanding that Richmond is a community that for a number of years has had population loss, that is, in order to get some of that money back, there needs to be some infrastructure for business. There maybe needs to be some investment in people to help with educational attainment so that EDC can bring in better paying jobs. How do you balance knowing that there's an issue out here with COVID and lost revenue, with the need to be able to continue to invest in this community to make it livable for the people that are here and to make it attractive to potentially bring people in?
I want to see a strategic plan put in place is what I want to see. I know we have a comprehensive plan. I want to see a strategic plan put into place. And I think if we start working on a strategic plan and looking at those priorities, then we can start setting some of the goals that we need to meet some of those priorities, and we can start talking about that. And if we don't have that type of a thought process on how we're going to approach some of these things, comprehensive plan is great, but it all boils down to one thing. All the things in a comprehensive plan have to be paid for somewhere, somehow.
Right. Yeah.
And we need to have a strategic plan on how we're going to be doing that. And the other thing we need to think about too, after this is starting to slow down and COVID kind of things are starting to get back to normal, is how are we going to start building up some of those revenues again by still doing what we need to do, but also putting money back in the bank?
Yes.
Who's to say that there's not going to be something else coming down the road? And we need to make sure we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Go ahead.
I am somewhat familiar. If anybody in town is familiar with the comprehensive plan, I've read it twice and sat in on several meetings. And I saw it as more of a wish list for how we want to go forward. So, Jeff, your idea of a strategic plan, that seems like something that is more specific and maybe in light of our last 6 months, that might be something we need to do and we need to look at. It's a difficult balance. I mean, there are streets that need to be paved. There are projects that need to be done, and maybe we really need to look long and hard at making a list of and prioritizing that list before we move forward. But again, I'm always one, we need to have money, to do these projects. And I don't, I've heard talks about a new administration building or a new police fire building and things like that. Something we need to really look hard at and see if we can afford something like that. And that's the only way I think we can go forward.
Yeah.
Is the council meetings a place where those need to be held? And considering you all's meetings have been relatively short the past few months, is that a process that can and needs to start now? Or who does that? Does the council do that? Does the administration do that? Where does that come from?
The combination of all of it, actually. I mean, we have finance committee, we have different committees we all serve on and sit on, and meeting with the mayor, but a lot of direction from that should come from the mayor's office.
Sure.
We are a part of that process. We're not the entire process. And I feel that we all recognize that. And I go back to what I said earlier. I think we need to start developing a strategic plan on how we're going to do it. And I agree with what Bill and Jane was saying too. there are some things that people want to have done, but we may not have the money to do them this year. And we may not even have the money to do them in 2022. I mean, We're just going to have to start looking at it.
We'll be back to wrap up tonight's In Focus in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Ken Pouse, Wayne County Commissioner.
And I'm Richmond Mayor Dave Snow. And Richmond and Wayne County strive to be a welcoming and inclusive place for everyone. And that hasn't changed during COVID-19.
We're working together to make sure each and every one of you are safe. We ask you to wear your mask whenever you leave home for the safety of the folks that are around you. Over the past few weeks, we've seen a dramatic increase in positive cases and hospitalizations here in Wayne County.
That's right, Ken, and that's really alarming news. So we want to take this moment to remind everyone that you must wear a face covering, and you must wear it properly so that it fully covers your nose and mouth. Although the governor has stated this mandate will not be enforced with fines, we as Hoosiers are banding together to mask up for the health of our state.
And when you're out and about in the community, we ask you to do your part too. Wearing a face covering when in public is the best way to be a good neighbor. After all, we don't wear a mask for ourselves, we wear them for you. Please wear your mask.
Thank my guests for being on tonight's In Focus. We greatly appreciate them. Our hope is that we can get those common council members back or other common council members back to talk about the budget process as time goes on. As we wrap up this week's show, there's a few things I want to remind you of. One, as I started this program, reminding you that you can get registered to vote. Voter registration ends on Monday, October 5th. You can do it in person, 301 East Main Street in Richmond. That, of course, is the clerk's office. Easiest way to do it, and the way most people prefer to do things now, is online. So you can go to indianavoters.com and get yourself registered. You can check your status. You can find voting locations, or you can register to vote if you are not registered. And we do urge everyone to be registered to vote. There are not only the federal offices that are up, 6th Congressional District, as well as obviously the president, there is the governor, and there will also be races locally, as I mentioned earlier, I believe, for coroner, as well as Wayne County clerk. So please get registered and be ready to vote. Also, one thing that you can do at home is remember that you can sign up for the census. There are also chances for you to do that in person on September 2nd from 10 to 1 outside the city building, on September 8th from 4 to 5 at Rock Solid Ministries, and September 12th from 2 to 6 p.m. There'll be a voter registration event in Jack Elstro Plaza. Definitely make sure that you handle that. The Richmond Farmers Market continues to be open every Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. It's there for you to find some great food and even some entertainment. So definitely be sure to check that out. And don't forget, of course, there is also the Tuesday Farmers Market, which you can be involved in also. So Food Pantry, if you are in need of food, easy to find. It's this being put on by Richmond Community Schools. It's a food pantry. It's a drive-through. It's every Thursday from 8:30 till 2:30 at door number 55. They ask that you stay in your vehicle. They ask that you please wear a mask, but that is a food drive that's being put on by Richmond Community Schools, and that is always a huge help for folks in our community. Need to say a thank you. A big thank you to all of our sponsors, all of the people who help support us, all of the businesses as well as not-for-profit organizations that are supporters of programming here. But a special thank you going out to Morrison Reeves Library, who has been a partner with us for a number of years, but who are helping us out as we try to keep a number of people from coming to campus. They've made their facility a place where some of our community members can drop off their programming and we can make pickups. I just want to say thank you to them for continuing to be a partner with Whitewater Community Television. If you need a place to go go. Use some computer space. Just find a quiet place to read. Definitely check out Morrison Reeves Library. You can find them online. Obviously, we talk about online a lot, mrlinfo.org. If you are looking for work, remember the Hoosier Opportunities website is a place that can connect local companies with local talent in Eastern Indiana. You can find a job, you can post your resume, find internships, a whole lot more. HoosierOpportunity.com. Definitely go and check that out. If you are in need of help, if you are in need of assistance, one of the places that you can dial, one of the resources that is out there is 211. That'll help connect you with a navigator that can help you find all the local resources you need. Just dial 211 online. Again, if you want to do that, in211.communityos.org. That's in211.communityos.org. If you're looking for a job, consider one that comes to us from the folks at Eastern Indiana Works. IMPA, Indiana Municipal Power Agency, is looking for a power production manager. You can apply online, indianacareerconnect.com. The job order number is 3BFB5506, but that's with IMPA, Indiana Municipal Power Agency. They are looking for a power production manager. And one more thing we want to remind you of, always a nice event, Pottery Palooza. Because of COVID-19 being moved online this year, it will be a virtual festival through various online platforms starting Saturday, September 5th. RichmondArtMuseum.org is the place where you can find more information on that. You can also check out their Facebook page. You'll also find out more information about exhibits and things of that nature if you check them out, RichmondArtMuseum.org. And last, but certainly not least, another available resource. We talked about food being earlier. There is an available resource for the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration. Visit in.gov/FSSA to find local food pantries and food sites. Again, that's in.gov/FSSA to find local food pantries and food sites if you are in need of some assistance. Thanks again to our guests for being on this week's In Focus program. You can find the replays of this program beginning tonight on WGTV Channel 11, also tomorrow night, twice on Saturday, 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., twice on Sunday, 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Replays of the audio also available on G1013 and 1490 WKBV, that's ESPN Radio. Our thanks to them for helping us out. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this week's In Focus on WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, and as always, I wish you well. This broadcast of In Focus is being made possible through the support of Reed Health. Reed Health, right beside you. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.